Did you know that the Dutch defense, starting with 1, f5, is one of the most flexible openings in chess, favored by many grandmasters for its strategic depth? It's not just about defending. This opening gives you dynamic chances to attack and control key squares, setting you up for a solid middle game. Introduction. In this video, we'll explore how to master the Dutch defense, a powerful and aggressive opening for Black. You'll learn how to control the center, counter your opponent's plans, and set the pace of the game with strong strategic play. Whether you're aiming for the classical Dutch, the stone wall, or the Leningrad, we'll cover all the key ideas to help you confidently handle this opening. Presentation of problem/challenge. One of the biggest challenges in the Dutch defense is managing the balance between aggression and safety. Many players either overextend themselves or get trapped in passive positions, especially when they don't fully understand the ideas behind the Dutch structure. Another common problem is not recognizing when to shift plans as white adjusts their strategy. Today, we'll go over these challenges in detail, and by the end of this video, you'll be equipped to avoid common pitfalls and build a solid Dutch repertoire. Exploration/development. 1. Starting with the Dutch defense. The Dutch defense begins with 1. d4 f5. This move immediately fights for control of the e4 square and sets the tone for an aggressive, yet flexible, pawn structure. Black commits early to a kingside focused game, and this can lead to dynamic attacking chances if handled correctly. 2. Key variations. Let's break down the three main branches of the Dutch defense: the classical, the stone wall, and the Leningrad. A. The classical Dutch. The classical Dutch aims for a solid, traditional pawn structure. After 1. d4 f5, white typically continues with 2. c4, aiming to dominate the center. A classical setup for Black might continue with 2, and f6, followed by 3, e6, 4, d6, and 5, be7, keeping your options open while focusing on controlling central squares like e4. Key ideas. Develop your knights to f6 and d7. Keep the option to play d5 to challenge white's center. Look for opportunities to play e4, placing your knight on a strong outpost in the center. Try to get your pieces coordinated for a kingside attack by advancing pawns like g5 and h5. Example line: d4 f5, c4 and f6, and c3 e6, and f3 be7, g3 00, bg2 d6, ooq e8. In this setup, you're aiming to control the e4 square while preparing a gradual build-up on the kingside. B. The stone wall Dutch. The stone wall is one of the most solid formations in the Dutch defense. After 1. d4 f5, Black aims for the characteristic d5, e6, and f5 pawn chain. This gives Black excellent control over the center, but also limits the movement of the light-squared bishop. Key ideas. Build the pawn structure: 1, f5, d5, e6, and c6. Place your pieces behind the pawns, f6, bd6, and 00. The main challenge is the light-squared bishop, which can be developed to b7 or via fianchetto to b6. Example line: d4 f5, c4 e6, and f3 d5, and c3 c6, bf4 bd6, e3 and f6, bd3 00. Here, Black has a strong center and is ready for a kingside push. You can later play 4, e4 and open up the position with g5 when the time is right. C. The Leningrad Dutch. The Leningrad is perhaps the sharpest and most aggressive line of the Dutch defense. In this variation, Black fianchettos the dark squared bishop by playing g6 and bg7, often looking to challenge white's central control with e5. Key ideas. Develop the fianchetto with g6 and bg7. Play for a quick e5 to strike at the center. Use the flexibility of the pawns to push either c5 or f4 when appropriate. Example line: d4 f5, g3 and f6, bg2 g6, and f3 bg7, 0000, c4 d6, and c3 q e8. The Leningrad is all about dynamic play. Black aims to counterattack in the center with e5 while maintaining strong kingside control. In summary, mastering the Dutch defense means being comfortable with both its strengths and weaknesses. Whether you prefer the solid structure of the stone wall, the dynamic play of the Leningrad, or the traditional lines of the classical Dutch, you'll find that this opening gives you plenty of strategic opportunities. Call to action. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Dutch defense, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know which variation of the Dutch is your favorite or if you've tried any of these ideas in your games. And be sure to check out my other videos on chess openings for even more strategies to elevate your game.